Welcome back to another review by Mega Train Lover. Today, for the first time on this channel, we are looking at an Accurascale model, and it is the long anticipated Class 50. I pre-ordered this 1.5 years ago and it's finally released here. Built between 1967 and 1968, the Class 50 were a class of 50 diesel-electric locomotives built by English Electric at the Vulcan Foundry. They were first introduced onto the West Coast Main Line to haul trains north of Crewe to Glasgow, as the line was not yet electrified. Once the West Coast Main Line was fully electrified to Glasgow in 1975, the Class 50s moved over to the Western region to replace the Class 52s. There they remained on frontline intercity traffic until 1981, when the HSTs fully took over their duties. After this, they were relegated to semi-fast and local passenger workings out of London Paddington and also London Waterloo. The Class 50s were eventually replaced in 1994 by the Class 159 Sprinters. In total, 18 have been preserved. They underwent an extensive refurbishment between 1978 and 1982. The Class 50 for me personally is my favourite class of diesel locomotive, which is the main reason why I purchased this model from Accurascale first. As we can see on the side of this very sturdy box, the product code for this one is ACC2209, BR Class 50 locomotive number D423, which is in BR Blue livery, and it's Era 6, which is perfect for me as I model Era 5 and 6. My first impressions of this model are, wow, it is absolutely beautiful. It perfectly captures the shape of the Class 50 and the level of detail is absolutely exquisite. We start at the number 1 end of the locomotive, which is absolutely festooned with detail. The front brake pipes, steam heating pipe and couplings are all separate pieces which I've added myself. The ETH cable, which is the orange and black cable hanging down, that is already fitted to the model. The tail lights work independently as per the DCC decoder commands. The lamp irons just below the tail lights are separate pieces, as are the cab footsteps. The buffers are sprung, as I'll demonstrate shortly. The handrails as well are separate pieces. As this is depicting the Class 50 as built, it does not feature the multiple unit jumper cables just below the cab windows. It also does not have the headlight between the tail lights, and it has headcode boxes. The cab detail is absolutely amazing, even though you can't really see it, and amazingly, the gauge lights work. Now, this particular model, I am using a temporary decoder, meaning that they are not lit at the moment. The fan, as well as being very detailed, does actually spin. Unlike on the Hornby model, this one can be spun independently based on the decoder command. The temporary decoder which I'm using until I receive the specially programmed decoder from Accurascale means that the fan does not function at the moment. However, once I receive that decoder, the fan will be able to function as normal. But it is amazing to see that the fan can be independently controlled. You can also see that the other roof details are very nicely picked out. The bogie detail is absolutely exquisite. You can see the handbrake chain, which is an actual chain. What a very nice touch. The axle boxes and the springs themselves are modelled beautifully, as are the white piping, all very, very crisp and cleanly detailed. Here we are in the middle of the locomotive. The fuel tank, the compressor and the battery boxes are all modelled really, really nicely. One thing which I absolutely love is the battery isolation switch is a separate piece, as is the fuel filler cap. All very, very nice touches. Very well done by Accurascale. Turning the model onto its side to show the underframe detail, you can see how they've gone into the trouble of modelling both the compressors and the air tanks, something which you won't see during normal operation. However, it is incredible that they've modelled all of this. I mean, you know, this is stuff which you won't see normally, and they've gone into the trouble of modelling it. Absolutely brilliant. However, what is even more amazing is the fact they've actually modeled the engine room interior. Now, I believe that this does actually have engine room lights. However, that won't be noticeable until I receive the specifically programmed decoder from Accurascale in a couple of weeks' time. But it is absolutely incredible to see that they've gone into the trouble of modeling the engine room. It is such a nice touch by Accurascale. Another attention to detail I love is the indent in the roof. Now, this was featured on the unrefurbished locomotives, and it's the fact that Accurascale have gone into the trouble of modelling the Class 50s based on their eras. So this is where the rheostatic brake fans used to be, which was a feature removed during refurbishment due to unreliability. The double arrow logo and locomotive number D423 are modelled perfectly on all four corners of the locomotive. Here at the number 2 end, you can see that the bogie detail is just as nice as it is on the number 1 end. And as previously mentioned, the model does come with sprung buffers on all four corners. Absolutely brilliant. Continuing to look at the number 2 end, I've not included the details on the brake pipes as this would foul the tension lock coupling. However, the detail which is already pre-included is done very nicely, including the lamp irons, cap footsteps and the ETH cable. The head code on this end, as you can see, reads 4 Sierra 13. All in all, this model is absolutely exquisite. It is well worth the wait, and kudos to Accurascale because this is such a brilliant model. However, detail is one thing. Let's see in a second how it performs. I am pleased to report that straight out of the box, the model was an excellent runner. Here, as you can see, it runs very smoothly and the lights work as they should. Now, of course, not all the lights are lit, as I am waiting the decoder, which is specifically programmed from Accurascale, as mentioned previously. But I am very impressed with this model. As mentioned, it is worth the wait, and I absolutely love it. It is, of course, my favorite class of diesel. Just to conclude this video, this model comes highly recommended by me. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you in the next video.